Hi guys, this is Drew Moore, EDL 850. This is my case study for internet use violations. So let's go ahead and get to it. Problem identification and analysis. What do we know? Ms. Walker's in her second year as a teacher. She's very educated, especially for a teacher early in her career. Teaches specialized courses at the school, very rigorous, very demanding. Students typically experience high levels of stress. Dr. Forbes, he's done a great job at the school. It's his ninth year as a principal, and he's basically created a school that is one of the top in the state. He has kind of created a prestigious atmosphere, a great track record. Parents seem to like him. He's also received numerous phone calls concerning Mrs. Walker's stringent expectations, fear of a child's poor grades in her class, and high levels of stress. That is a concern for the parents. Dr. Forbes has discussed techniques with Mrs. Walker to reduce student levels of stress and increase her positive interactions with the students. Figured it would be good for her and for the kids in her class. She has not been able to implement successfully, which has been a problem because continuous calls from the parents about complaints of the workload and the poor instruction. Ms. Walker took advantage of a 3-day weekend before the incident occurred. As she returned to her apartment, she found an email that urged her to view a specific website and a personal message. The contents included highly suggestive comments about her personally, very critical comments, and curse words were used as well, so very, very inappropriate. Continuing on with what we know, Miss Walker, she immediately came to a panic and fear for her life after reading the final comment, which said, "Who wants Miss Walker to disappear?" Which is understandable, her feelings at that moment. So she tearfully dialed Dr. Forbes, fearing that her life had been threatened. She explained the situation in a panic, and while stressing that she wouldn't be safe in her apartment that night, she actually asked Dr. Forbes if she should call the police. Dr. Forbes was able to calm her down. He looked it over and concluded to Ms. Walker, "I can understand your concern, but I sincerely believe the email and web page was a prank," but he didn't know for sure. So Dr. Forbes urged Ms. Walker to think of any disruptions from students that have occurred in the past week, so staying more recent. She immediately thought of one particular student that is computer savvy and disruptive in class by the name of Randy Franks. So she pinpointed him immediately. The community is very affluent, and the students are typically pretty tech savvy, so they kind of know what they're doing with technology. And Randy is pretty intelligent because he's called upon by other students with computer issues to help them. So Dr. Forbes concluded that a meeting would take place in the morning with Randy, possibly his friends, and then they would get the district involved and use the technology services in order to find the source of the actual website. So that was going to be an option for them as well. Continuing on, what do I need to know? What students specifically have been disruptive in class? We need to know that. If so, is there documentation of the disruptions in the class? If there were other incidents in the class, what was done from a disciplinary standpoint that may cause this to escalate this far toward a creating of a website? What was the origin? We have no idea at this moment in time. Was the school email computer used, or was it an outside source, which hopefully technology services is able to figure that out. What's the school district's policy regarding internet slander in relation to students and teachers? What's the chain of command? And then finally, what can we do legally, if anything? And then the first and foremost, the most important thing is, what can we do to make Ms. Walker feel comfortable in class and away from school? This benefits her as a staff member, and it totally benefits her students, because that gives, you're going to get her absolute best, and at this moment in time that may be an issue. So the problem, principal sympathy for Ms. Walker. So Dr. Forbes has received many parental complaints in the past, as I said before, but he needs to provide a sense of comfort for faculty hired. Her comfort provides the students her best as an educator, so he needs to try to give that to her. Dr. Forbes may feel it's a prank. That's kind of irrelevant, which I think he knows, as he needs to be sympathetic towards her feelings in this situation. Ms. Walker seems to have neglected student-based needs in the past. So, the student parental complaints have been continuous, and the principal's suggestions have gone unanswered in her class. So it really hasn't been implemented, and there hasn't been good results. And then the website origination. is unknown. So action cannot be taken without a known offender. And then the protocol for internet violations, what does the district do? What's the chain of command? What types of things have they had in the past? What's going to be done, and possibly legally, if need be. So the proposed plan of action, the initial meeting with Ms. Walker. So the very first meeting that they have the next day when they come in. So this is really important. Superintendent / district personnel is needed to be notified of the situation immediately after Ms. Walker's phone call to Dr. Forbes. So he immediately needs to contact the higher ups in the district to let them know what's going on. Dr. Forbes has already scheduled a meeting with Ms. Walker in the morning, which is great. His question is, what can we do to make you feel comfortable in your class? That not only benefits her, that benefits all of her students as well to get her best. Asking great questions from him to her. Who's been disruptive in the class in recent days? What sort of discipline action was taken in class for disrespect, if any? Why does Ms. Walker think the website was created? And then how did Ms. Walker go about implementing Dr. Forbes' suggestions for positive student interaction, because the results we know have not been great. Communication is essential in this this particular case. Continuing on, proposed plan of action, the post meeting, with Mrs. Walker. So this is after we've already met with her. Superintendent, district personnel, council. This is very, very important. So coming from the superintendent, coming from district personnel, what advice or experiences have others faced in the past? How can that help me? Utilize technology. Figure out where the website originated and the potential violators. Questioning process. Set up meetings, with the potential violators for questioning and gather information. Contacting the parents. That is crucial to communication. It makes everybody feel more comfortable, and we can get through this thing, kind of figure out exactly who the perpetrators were, what happened, and how we can fix it, punishments and things like that. Protocol, the chain of command. Work through the chain and figure out action that will be taken against the violators. Continuing on, the post meeting after talking with Mrs. Walker initially, legal action. Figure out is potential legal action against the violators that may need to accompany school punishment, if any. Ms. Walker felt threatened at the time, and that needs to be respected. So authorities may need to be contacted just to let them know about what is going on. Does your school have a resource officer? Those are things that can relate to this as well. Does she still feel that way? How does she feel as far as her life being threatened like she did initially? That's important to know. Make a final decision, based on counsel, past decisions, and legal action. These should all be factored in. Decisions should be fueled by integrity, ethics, and transparency. And I say transparency because every situation is different. Every situation in the past is different. Every kid is different. Every teacher is different. So we really have to respect that, along with the guidelines set forth by the district and what they've done in the past and what they have already laid out. Alert students, parents, Ms. Walker. Communicate punishments, legal action that is being applied to the situation with those involved with the situation. So nobody's out in the dark. Revisit classroom implementations. This is really important after a decision has been made, because Dr. Forbes needs to reemphasize the importance of positive classroom interactions and tactics, because this is part of the reason that the situation occurred, we feel, is because these things weren't implemented. So they need to develop a plan of action to help Ms. Walker implement strategies with a goal in mind to decrease stress of the students and increase positive interaction with the student-teacher relationship. So Ms. Walker, that should help her with her classroom management style, and also help the students as well. Resolving issues and promoting the success of all students. Obviously, this is the most important thing, is the kids. Emphasizing comfort level through communication is a building block for promoting success of all students. The more comfortable everyone is, okay, the more you're going to get the best of that person, that teacher, that student. Dr. Forbes asking Ms. Walker What can we do to make you feel comfortable? That promotes a sense of comfort in her that allows her to reach her full potential as an educator. Dr. Forbes reemphasized the importance of positive classroom interaction implementations. Dr. Forbes is willing to utilize technological resources to figure out the source of the website. That's important as well. This shows Ms. Walker that the administration supports her and shows students that this type of behavior is not an environment conducive to learning. So they want to jump on this very, very quickly. Open communication with students, parents, administration, that shows advocacy and creates public stakeholder trust in school leaders. Because we're communicating, all of a sudden people are, that builds trust with the community. And ultimately trust leads to a high level of student achievement. So it all kind of piggybacks off of each other. As far as debriefing, okay, so items that are valuable and reflection with this. The very first thing, I'll be totally honest, that I was thinking was Ms. Walker overreacting? That was my first thought, right or wrong. That was the first thing I was thinking of. Concern for Ms. Walker and her mindset. Was her emotional state being valued? Or is it going to be valued how she was feeling at the time? That is very important. What specific reasons would push a student to create this website? This is a big deal. To go this far to create a website on students' feelings towards Ms. Walker. That goes back to the implementation of positive classroom strategies and why did they not work, or were not implemented? Was it disregarded by Ms. Walker? I was thinking these things as well. And what is going to be the protocol? Past experience. Are we going to use transparency because everything is different as well? Continuing on, how was I feeling? I was feeling disappointed relating to the student that created the website. This is extreme, so I have a deep feeling of disappointment for that student. Frustration, Ms. Walker, the potential that students disliked her so much that a website was created. And then the frustration of the entire process related to figuring out the source of the website. And then I was scared, a little bit scared for Ms. Walker. I was scared for her life. She didn't feel comfortable, and now she had the potentially gather herself and continue teaching. So she had to do that after the fact, and that's got to be a very tough thing for her as well. So I was scared in that case. What did I value? The safety. Safety of the staff member promotes comfort. This allows him or her to be the best version of their self as an educator, and this promotes student success. You get the best from the teacher, you get the best from the students. Communication, respect for policies and procedures. The chain of command was utilized for counsel. Parents were notified. Ms. Walker was spoken with multiple times, given primary right to explain her feelings and thoughts. And very fair, fairness toward the students, not pinpointing one student, not pinpointing the one kid that Ms. Walker looked at, and then towards Ms. Walker's emotions and thoughts behind the potential violators. Unresolved issues. Who actually sent the email, created the website, posted the comments? When will Ms. Walker feel comfortable enough to return to the classroom? How receptive will Ms. Walker be to another conversation regarding classroom implementations? Will there be an evaluation regarding these implementations? Dr. Forbes has an obligation to his second-year teacher to help her grow, and this is one of the ways to do it. Component 1, demonstration of integrity and ethical behavior. Ms. Walker's well-being was put at the top in regards to the problem. There's no doubt about it. This was first and foremost. School procedures, policies were taken into account before actually acting. So we talked to the chain of command. It was utilized, the superintendent, and then gained counsel from those who have experienced this or just going by the guidelines of the district. Evidence was gathered. Opinions were taken into account, but conclusions weren't made off of opinions. Meetings occurred to gather data, and even tech services were going to be utilized. Acting with fairness. Randy Frank wasn't singled out. Meetings with Ms. Walker consisted of brainstorming recent disruptions. Okay, no one was singled out. We notified the parents, okay, which is very important, and then never doubted Mrs. Walker or Ms. Walker. It was felt that she genuinely felt scared. Initial reaction. Her feelings were taken into account when approaching problem-solving strategies. And finally, demonstrating a personal and professional code of ethics, being supportive of Ms. Walker in her comfort level in regards to returning to the classroom. Students only benefit when a teacher is able to give them the best version of themselves. That is an absolute fact. And then re-emphasizing the importance. I felt like I would re-emphasize the importance of implementing action steps within the classroom to create positive interactions with students. As an administrator, it's my job to make things comfortable for a teacher to become the best version of themselves in the classroom. Thank you for listening, guys.